So this is part 3 of the video series on problems on compound interest, and here we have a problem that says you took a loan of rupees 80,000 from a bank. If the rate of interest is 10% per annum, find the difference in amounts you would pay after 1.5 years if the interest is A, compounded annually, B, compounded half yearly. Okay, so the principal amount, that is the loan amount that you take, is actually what? Is rupees 80,000. Rate is 10% and for the time period of 1.5 years. First, let's take this compounded annually. In this case, let's denote principal by P1. So P1 is rupees 80,000 and rate is 10% per annum and time period is 1.5 years. Now 1.5 years means that 1 year plus half year, right? Now, if you have to tell the final amount at the end of the nth year, we know a formula for this, and the formula is total amount is equal to principal within the bracket 1 plus r by 100 raised to the power of n, where n will tell you the time period in years. In this case, if you put all these values, that is 80,000, 1 plus r is 10% and n here is 1.5 year. Okay, now if you try to calculate this will be very difficult, because here you have the exponent as 1.5. So it's really difficult to solve this. Then how to solve this problem? What we will do is we'll break this calculation in two parts, and I'll show you how. Suppose today you took the loan, right? And this is the loan P1. This is the loan P1. So at the end of 1 year, here at this point, what will be the amount at this period? The amount at this period A will be P1 plus the interest of this period of 1 year, that is the simple interest of this period, right? We have learned all these things. Okay, so this is P1 plus SI1. Now we can call it as either A or we can call it as, let's say P2. Okay, A is the amount at the end of 1 year, which is equal to P1 plus SI1. Now this amount A will actually be the principal for the next half year. So suppose this is another half year from here to here. This is half year. So for this half year, this P2 will be this P1 plus SI1, that is amount, will be equal to P2, will be the principal for this period. Now if you calculate the simple interest for this period, so if SI1 was simple interest for this period, what will be the total amount, final amount? P1 plus SI1 plus SI2, right? This will give you the total amount. So it means that if we find this amount up to here, then if you find a simple interest 2, then simply if you will add A plus SI2, you'll get the final amount, right? Why? Because A is equal to P1 plus SI1. So P1 plus SI1 plus SI2 will give the final amount. Okay, so first solve this A. What will be A here? If we delete this half and we simply calculate this portion, so from here you will get rupees, this is 11 by 10, so 80,000 multiplied by 11 by 10, you get rupees 88,000. You get rupees 88,000. Okay, this is the amount at the end of 1 year. Now this amount A will become the principal for the second period of half year. This is P2, the same A, rupees 88,000, and rate is same, that is 10% per annum, and time period is half year. If you calculate the simple interest for this period, that is an interest, that is actually simple interest for this period, and if you denote it by SI2, this will be equal to 88,000 multiplied P multiplied by R multiplied by T, that is half year, right? So if you solve it, you will get rupees 4,400. So you get the SI2 value. This is SI2. This A that you have calculated using this formula is actually P1 plus SI1. This is actually P1 plus SI1, because when we use this formula, it actually gives us P1 plus SI1. Now this is SI2. So basically P1 plus SI1 plus SI2 will give you the final value. So simply put, this P2, that is 88,000, plus this interest, that is 4,400, and this will give you 92,400 rupees. 92,400 is the total amount when the interest is compounded annually. 92,400. Okay. Now the next part is when the interest is compounded half yearly. Now when the interest is compounded half yearly, it means that if you look at this 1.5 years, this 1.5 years means what? This is actually 18 months. And in these 18 months, there will be 3 periods of 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, and 6 months, right? 3 periods of 6 months. So if you remember, we have a formula. In fact, we have two formulas. Let's write that. A is equal to P 1 plus R by 200 in case of half yearly, 200 N, and another is A is equal to P 1 plus R by 200, that is 2N, right? Both are same thing. These two formulas are the same. The only difference is if you know the number of periods of 6 months, like in this case, number of periods of 6 months, I'm talking about this formula, this one. Here N is actually tells you the number of periods of 3 months. So the number of periods of 3 months in this case is 3. If you know the number of periods of 3 months, simply put here and you'll get the answer. But if you want to take 1.5 year, that is if you want to take the time period in the form of year, so what you will do is, this is 2.5, so you can write it as 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3, so you can write it as 3 by 2 year, right? This is a mixed fraction, and if you want to write it in this form, this is 3 by 2 year. So this is 2 multiplied by N is what? 3 by 2. So 3 by 2, 2 gets cancelled, you are left with 3. So ultimately you will see that these two are actually giving the same thing. Here 2N is coming 3, and here N is already 3. The only difference was that this N tells you the number of periods of 6 months, and this 2N is actually dealing with the number of years. Okay, so let's take this one only. So in this case, A is equal to, principal is what? 80,000. 1 plus R is what? 10%. So 10 by 200, and this is 3, right? So if you solve it, you'll get A as rupees 92,610. So in this case, you are getting 92,610. Clearly, in this case, the final amount at the end of 1.5 years is greater than this one. And the reason is why? Because here, at the same rate, interest is being compounded half yearly. So when the rate is same and the interest is compounded half yearly, then always the final amount will be greater than the final amount when you will calculate using compounded annually. You invested rupees 8,000 in a business, you would be paid interest at 5% per annum, compounded annually. Fine. The amount credited against your name at the end of the second year, the interest of the third year. Two things. It's asking that you have to tell the amount you'll get at the end of, suppose you invested in business rupees 8,000. So your P, that is principal, is 8,000. You invested today. After a period of 2 years, what will be the amount that you will get? And for the next 1 year, that is the third year, it's asking what interest you will get for this period. What interest you will get for this period? Only interest. So that's simple. This is P here, right? This is P. Now, this is the final amount A at the end of the second year. This A will be actually what? This A will be this P plus the simple interest of the 2 years, right? The simple interest of the 2 years. Simple interest of 2 years, right? So P plus simple interest of 2 years will give you the A, and for the calculation of this interest for the next period of 1 year, this A will become the principal of this another period, right? Just as we did here. So let's start. We have to find this value of A. So A will be equal to, P is 8,000, formula, let's write the formula. P 1 plus R by 100 is to the power of N. P is 8,000, rate is 5% per annum and compounded annually. This is compounded annually. So when the interest is compounded annually, the final amount is given by this one. So if you put the values here, the P is what? 8,000, and your R is 5%. Your N is what? 2. Your N is 2. So if you calculate this, you'll get rupees 8,820. So at the end of the second year, the amount that will be credited against your name because of this rate of interest will be 8,820. So at the end of second year, you'll get 8,820. That includes the interest of this 2 period. Now you have to tell not the final amount at the end of third year, but just the interest. What the interest you will get for this third period. That's simple. This amount at the end of second year will be the principal for the third year. So the principal for the third year, let's note it by P3. P3 is equal to what? 8,820, right? And what's the rate? Rate is again same, that is 5% per annum. Now, time period is equal to 1 year. Time period is equal to 1 year. It means that you have to calculate a simple interest where P is 8,820. P multiplied by R is 5%. P multiplied by R multiplied by T, that is 1 year. And when you solve it, you will get rupees 441. So this is the interest that is for the third year, and this amount is credited against your name for the period of 2 years.